Well, hello there, and welcome to the weekly edit. This will be a series where I aim to walk you through my editing process on a surprise weekly basis. It's mostly unscripted live. It is actually unscripted all the time. Live, minimal editing, and it will be about how I edit my images, both from a technical perspective in the software program itself, as well as the thought process behind the edit. Yeah, because if you're a photographer who's anything like me, I always enjoy seeing how other photographers edit the images because I always learn something new, and I also enjoy exploring different editing programs. For this week, the first one, we'll do one in a Lightroom Classic because, let's face it, that's just I think what most people use. And then in the coming weeks, or as the series progresses, I'll edit images in programs like DxO's PhotoLab 7, Capture One, open source programs like Darktable, which I actually quite enjoy. Yeah, and then what else do we have? Let's have a look here quickly. We have On One, Photometer, and Pixelmator Pro. So I stop talking. Let's get into it. Okay, so for this week, I've selected one of the images I captured last year. I also wrote about it in my newsletter. I'll put a link in the description. It's a little Swiss farm shed close to where we live here in Switzerland. We actually cycled past it in the morning on a family outing, and I realized it would be quite a cool image to capture, so I went back in or later in the day when I had time to go and capture it. Yeah, I'll tell you about that just now. So let's edit it. So I've selected it here in Lightroom. I'm going to press D to head into the develop module. Currently it's in its final color edited state, so let me just quickly reset that. So there's the raw capture. Top secret, or one secret, or what I would say, one secret behind this image is it was actually captured with a bridge camera, which is the Panasonic FZ1000 II. Don't tell anyone. I capture images with a bridge camera. I actually quite enjoy working with that camera. I'll probably do a series on that, or some info on, or some videos on that at some stage. But it's very, very nice camera, very versatile, especially if you are wanting to travel light. So editing raw image. My thinking behind this was I liked the yellow of the flowers, the green of the grass, and just how the shed was sort of framed by this leading up to the trees on the hill behind it. And it tells a nice story. It's got the wood beside it. I like the way that it's sort of 45 degrees to the camera. Or to how you view it from the little gravel road that goes past it. So yeah, and that's also one of the reasons why I placed it in the center of the image. Yeah, I like the tree here. I like the tree there. I like how the flowers sort of go around it here. And yeah, it's just a nice sort of rural Swiss farm scene. So originally, let's start here. So what I normally like to do in Lightroom, I like to work top to bottom. I don't do that much to my images, but it's a nice way of working. I think that's probably also why they laid it out like this. Currently, in the develop module, my workspace is set up in solo mode. If you don't know what that is, that's just if you right click on any of the modules here, you'll see an option to select solo mode. If it's not in solo mode, if you select show all, it's not really show, or expand all. So that's like it normally is, where you can actually have many panels open at the same time, but then you have to scroll up and down quite extensively. And if you select solo mode, that only allows you to have one panel open at a time. And as you click one, the other one that you had selected will collapse. So a little bit of useless information for you there. Use it as you may. Okay, so the first thing I'm thinking here is the white balance doesn't look that far off, but I'll like to just sometimes just select auto, see what the camera does. That actually looks way too cold for me. So yeah, that's actually not bad. I like the slightly warmer tones there. This in the shadows here, it looks quite neutral, so I think I'm happy with that. What I will sometimes do is I'll actually, a little trick is to take the vibrance and the saturation all the way up to 100, which will bring out all the colors in the image, but that actually allows you to set the white balance quite well. So now I see there's quite a lot of yellow in the scene, so I want to cool this down maybe slightly. So I'll take that down to, so as I'm doing that, I'm watching the yellow and the blues in the image. So you can see, okay, that's maybe a little bit much. I'll take it back up to 5000. Let's have a look on the tint. Maybe a little bit green. Take that up to 40. You can see how it changes there. So take it up to 40. Okay, so then you take then you double click, or you can just slide it back to 0, or you can just double click, take it back to 0. Now you can immediately see from, if you go back to the history, before we did that, where were we? We were here. And now we are there. Just a slightly more neutral white balance. Let's collapse that, have a bit more real estate to work with. Actually might like it a bit warmer, so I'm just going to take that up to there again. Exposure wise, I'm quite happy. You can maybe take it down to about -0.2. Highlights, not too bad. Actually might take that up a little bit. Shadows, bring out the shadows over here a little bit, so let's take that up. Like that. Whites, if you're holding Option and drag this with the white slider to the right, and as you start to see those black pixels turn blue or white, you know you've reached the white point. You can see the difference there. Just adds a bit of mid-tone brightness. And blacks, I think I'm quite happy with. I don't want to add too many more blacks. It's already sort of quite on the edge, as we can see there. So I might take it down one. I like to add just a little bit of texture and clarity as a general rule. If you zoom into 100%, you can see there's already quite a nice bit of texture there. Just add a tad of vibrance. Okay, so that's pretty much the basic panel done with. If we do a before and after, sorry, that's because I made a virtual copy. If we go to reset settings, and where we are now, there and there. Not a major difference, but just enough to bring out a little bit of the color and the detail. I might take the white balance up just a tad more, bring out that warmth. And actually, while we're at it, let's do a quick snapshot. Create. Yeah, okay, not looking bad. And tone curve, this image I'm not actually going to touch that color mixer, also and color grading not. I do want to add a little bit of sharpening. With sharpening, I'd like to take the detail down, if not all the way to about 10, and the radius as well to about 0.5, and then I like to do a lot in the amount. So if we take that up, you can see the difference that makes there. So I like to do low radius and detail with a high amount. We do it before and after. You can see just a nice little bit of sharpening around the smaller details. And then with masking, quickly see holding the Option key on Mac, do it like that, about 60%. Be fine. And then if we go back to where we started, to where we are now, just a nice little bit of color, some sharpness. Lens corrections, that's actually I think built into the camera, so that's not going to make a major difference. We'll leave that on for now. While I'm seeing the transform, if we go down, let's do the cropping quickly. So like I mentioned, I wanted the shed in the center of the image. And at the top here, there's just the bottom of 2 trees higher up. That's just creeping in. That's sort of bothering me a little bit, or that's a bit distracting. So we'll bring that down to about there. And we'll take it just a bit up, keeping the shed nice and in the middle of the image. And I think that might be, yeah, I think that's good. Moving on, transform no, lens blur no, effects. So for effects, I like to add a bit of a vignette. Normally go to about -15. So if we do a before after there, it just draws the eye to the center of the image and focuses the attention of where I want it to go. And then in the calibration panel, here we can add what I like to refer to as a bit of color contrast by using the blue saturation slider. I'll crank that up a little bit, quite a bit, just so you can see the difference on screen. You can see there the difference it makes. So that's 0. Actually looks quite desaturated now. Take that up a little bit more. That's obviously too much. So I'm probably just going to take that up to about 15. And then if we do it before or after, so you just add that nice little bit of additional color without overdoing it. Then what I like to do with the rest of the color calibration sliders, I just sort of rock them left and right and see the effect it has. So if we do the blue primary with the U, takes it more towards orange, takes it more towards green. With this scene, probably just tad towards green. Green primary is going to desaturate the greens most likely. Yeah, more. I don't want to do too much, maybe just a little bit towards the green. With U, do you want to go more towards yellow, more towards green? Maybe a tad towards yellow, so -5. With the red, it's like overall desaturation. Oh, I think there we go. So if we just zero that, or sometimes it gets a bit stuck there. So let's just zero that out. I think I'm going to leave that alone. Let's see what the U does. Okay, I think the random one leave alone. Generally the shadow tint I tend to leave alone. Okay, so if we just do a quick before and after. Yeah, I think it's quite nice. Just adds a little bit of extra color pop. So let's do a quick, where were we? So that's where we were before. That's where we are now. Let's bring that panel out. We can do it properly. Before, after, before, after. See, just enough to bring out the important aspects of the image. Yeah, it was a colorful image, and like I mentioned, I wanted to bring out a little bit of those colors. And lastly, I might use just a bit of some masking. The linear. No, let's undo that. We'll go to linear gradient, and at the top here, I'm just going to bring that down, sort of as a neutral density filter, and I want to darken the top here. And instead of using exposure, this is the one time where I will actually make use of the curve. It just adds a more gradual or a more even darkening effect versus using the exposure. If I can show you quickly, so let's darken with using exposure. Go there, see it darkens, but it's a little bit unnatural. If we use the tone curve, click right in the center and just drag it down. It's a much more even darkening effect. And like that, let's do so it just brings the attention down onto the shed where we want it without making it too obvious. I'll add another linear gradient on the bottom and holding the shift key to keep it nice and straight. And again, this I'm going to do even less than the top, but just a tad. So again, if we do the before and after, you can see it just darkens down a little bit. And then while I'm busy and I'm reminding myself, I'm going to zoom out and add a radial gradient in the center of the frame. It's feathered, I think it's remembering my previous settings, so it's feathered at 60%. I'm going to zero that out to 50. And I like to keep it on the subject mostly, which is this, in this case is in the center of the frame, and drag the edges to just out of frame so that most of the effect is centered on the subject, and then it just sort of gradually fades out toward the edges of the frame. And here I'm going to brighten it a tad, not too much. So if we can do before and after there, you can see it just adds a bit of center brightness, which together with the vignette adds to draw the eye into the center of the frame. So we'll close that. Command. Okay, no, that was not good. Let's just quickly redo that. Okay. And then we will go to, not 100%, we will go to fit. Okay, there we go. You see, live, mostly unscripted. I'm also, even though I know Lightroom, I'm not the world's expert in it. World's best expert, yeah, you know what I mean. So there we go. I think as far as the color edit goes, that's going to be my final result. So let's just keep, did I keep it out? No. So that's where we started, that's where I started, and that's where we are. Before, after, before, after. Oh, I think I'm quite happy with that. And if you read my original story behind the image on my newsletter, on my blog / newsletter, which I mentioned, I'll link to below, you will see that I also did a black and white conversion of this, which I think we can get into quickly. So I'll just go back to the library panel, library module, and I will create a virtual copy. As soon as it's happy with that. Okay, let's go back into the edit. So with a black and white conversion, what I like to do, especially in a Lightroom, okay, it's not scrolling because there's not enough stuff to scroll. Note to self. So with a black and white conversion in Lightroom, what I like to do, two ways. I can either come here to the color mixer, saturation, either select it there, or if you stay on all, just come to saturation and zero it all out. I actually made a little preset, if I can find it quickly, where I can just go to color desaturate and it desaturates the image. That's one way. If I'm really in a, not in a rush, but if I just want to quickly experiment with black and white conversions, what I'll do, I'll come over to these 4 little squares at the top right of the basic panel in the develop module. Click on those. I'm lying. First, what I'll do is I'll click on black and white so that you can see the difference between the desaturate and this. Then I will come to the 4 squares. I'll come down to the Lightroom black and white presets, and I'll sort of just hover over them and see the difference they make. I think what I did previously, I quite like black and white 12 quite often, and I think 6. So what I'm looking at now is how it affects the shadows and the highlights. At the moment, for me, the grass and the flowers are a little bit bright and washed out, so I'm looking to increase the black and white density, for the lack of a better word. Here, that's quite nice actually. So you can see the difference there. Black and white preset 3. Let me go off it. So that's before applying it. That's applying it. So it really enhances the blacks and increases the contrast between the flowers and the grass, which I quite like. So I'm going to select that. Then I'll go to close, and that is almost pretty much that. What I might do is quickly press J just to see shadow and highlight detail. So the blacks are getting a little bit crushed, but those are really in very, very small areas without a lot of detail in any case. So I'm going to leave it like that. Then what I like to do, if I do want to increase a bit more of the contrast, I'll actually use the contrast slider within Lightroom. Don't tell anyone. So I'll slide that up just to increase the contrast a little bit more. So if we do a little bit, so let me zero that out. You can see before, after. And if we go to the maybe let's bring up these 3 up, so it didn't have a major effect on the blacks and the whites. And yeah, I think all in all, that's pretty much that. That's just a quick and dirty black and white conversion on top of the color edit. So we compare those two quickly. So I'll select them both by clicking on one, then command clicking on the other one. and I will, in Lightroom, let me close the panel again there quickly. I'll just press C. Let me close that panel again quickly as well. So there we have the two edits, black and white on the left, color edit on the right. And oh, actually, while I'm looking at this before we end, I just saw something that I forgot to do. So if we go back to the color edit quickly, originally the farmer did drive a bit on his field, as you can see. So I just quickly want to get rid of that. So this we're going to actually set to 100%, so that says like that. Okay. So I just want to quickly get rid of that. So in Lightroom, we'll go here to the Pair tool, remove tool, and we'll do object aware fill. That's fine. You can enlarge the tool by clicking left and right brackets. You can also the mouse wheel scroll if you want. So I'm just going to do that quickly. See what that does. Okay, let me just select the other one as well. Let's just do both while we're here. And we will go apply. Yeah, not bad. We zoom out. Close. Yeah. None the wiser. And that is that. Let's quickly do before and after. As you can see, just removes that distraction there. While I'm doing that, sorry, carrying getting distracted by the editor. Let's just remove that branch. I'll do that quickly. Click apply and close. So there we go. Once again, color edit, black and white edit. Yeah. And that, I think that's going to do it. So, thanks for sticking with me through this first installment of the weekly edit. Hope it was useful in some way, and if you enjoyed it, leave a comment below and join me again next week. Over and out.